Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers at the Voice of College Football. I'm here with my outstanding co host, Gabe Pickup, and we have a great show planned for you tonight. We're going to talk about the key players for 2025, and we're going to talk about depth, an issue that affected Rutgers this year due to the injuries, and we're going to talk about the depth going forward for 2025. So let's get right into it. And by the way, we've got the link in the chat if you want to call in or comment. And if you like the show, please hit that like and subscribe button. Okay, so Gabe, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Kyle Monangai. He was a star for the Scarlet Knights, and we're losing one of the best running backs in Rutgers history. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's definitely on that Mount Rushmore, especially for recent running backs. By the way, there's nothing else on TV. No basketball, football season's over, college football season's been over. There's no baseball for a month, and hockey's on All-Star break. So you know what is on? Voice of College Football Rutgers. So you know where to tune in today. And even when stuff is back next week, you can tune in next week. Kyle Monangai being gone is very rough. I believe that he is projected between the third and sixth round because you know how crazy mock drafts are in the NFL, where a guy can be projected in the third round, fall to sixth, or even undrafted. But that's sort of the range they give him. I think as a Mount Rushmore running back of at least since 2000, and being in the top 5, top 10 across the board in rushing stats, that's a huge loss. But our replacements for him are by committee. We have Anton Raymond, we have CJ Campbell, we have Jashawn Benjamin. So we kind of have to replace him with a three-headed horse. And Monangai was sort of carrying the load offensively, especially with Kaliak Manis sort of learning what works and what doesn't in college. But now we should have more of a hybrid offense. So I see those three backs as key replacements coming into this next season.
Absolutely. And, when we think about Kyle Monangai, he was really a workhorse for the Scarlet Knights. I remember that USC game where he went out with an injury, but he was very tough. Tough to bring down. He's got a combination of speed and strength. In 2024, 256 carries for 1,279 yards with 13 touchdowns and a 5 yards per carry average. And some of the highlights against Michigan State: 31 carries for 129 yards, 4.2 average, and a touchdown. Against Illinois, that Illinois game that we should have won, 28 carries for 122 yards and a 4.4 average. UCLA, that 35-32 loss, 19 carries, 106 yards, 5.6 yards per carry average, and 3 touchdowns. And in that great victory over Washington and Piscataway, 25 carries for 132 yards, 5.3 yards per carry average, 1 touchdown, and a long run of 40 yards. So this guy is a workhorse. He was one of the best backs in Rutgers history. And you say that we're going to be able to replace him with running backs by committee. Do you really think that's possible?
I do think it's possible because all three backs are good in different areas. Antoine Raymond is sort of a power back, if you will. In high school, he had 9 100-yard games. He had 4 200-yard games, first team all-county. And he wasn't really the focal point, obviously, with Monangai here. So now this is his first year being the focal point, being the primary back. He's sort of going to be that Marshawn Lynch, Derrick Henry type of player, hopefully, if he can get up to that production, which I believe he can. And CJ Campbell, he's more of a third down running back, so he kind of complements what Raymond doesn't do very well, which is catch the ball, which is be shifty, which is run to the sideline. Raymond's going to be diving for 3rd and 1 first downs. He's going to be rushing for 1st and goal to get down to the 2 or 1, maybe power his way to the end zone with the O-line giving him that extra push. But with Campbell, he'll be the check down guy. He'll be the running back check down guy, obviously. And then if either one gets injured, Jashawn Benjamin's sort of a good glue guy because it seems like he'll sort of be 3rd in the depth chart behind Campbell and behind Raymond. And it seems like he will be able to fill in either role. So to answer your question, yes, I do believe that we can sort of replace him with 3 different players and do it effectively.
Yeah, so folks, I think we've already got our first three key players for 2025.
Absolutely.
Antoine Raymond, Benjamin, and Campbell. Let's take a look at Antoine Raymond's stats from 2024. 100 carries, 457 yards, 8 touchdowns, and a 4.6 yards per carry average. And in that rate bowl, even though we lost 44-41, 18 carries for 113 yards, 6.3 yards per carry average, and 3 touchdowns with that 65-yard run against Kansas State. And against Michigan State, he 9 carries, 71 yards for 7.9 yards per carry average and 2 touchdowns. Now, when it comes to Ja'Shawn Benjamin, 19 carries, not a lot of carries, but 100 yards, 1 touchdown, averaging 5.3 yards per carry. And in the rate bowl, 7 carries for 33 yards and a 4.7 yards per carry average and 1 touchdown. So I think you're right. I think that the running backs behind Monangai are not only going to be the key players, but I think they're going to be impact players in 2025.
And you know what else? I think that we have one of the stronger O-lines in our conference, and behind O-line coach Pat Flaherty, I think he has the right schemes for guarding or for making sure that these guys go untouched for a few extra yards. I really believe in this offense. It's just a matter of can the defense step up, which obviously we're going to be talking about soon with all the transfers as key players coming into the next season too.
Absolutely. No, you make great points. So the running back room, those three running backs, they are key players for Rutgers in 2025, and they're going to be instrumental if Rutgers is going to have a successful year, especially with a schedule that has them playing Oregon, Penn State, and the Buckeyes of Ohio State. Now, Gabe, I want to turn to a different player, and there might be some controversy around this, but I want to talk about Ethan Kaliakmanis, the transfer from Minnesota, started for Rutgers this year. What's your take on Ethan?
Well, I think that he will be an effective player for this next season. I know you're a little iffy on will his production be there, but I think he has the weapons for sure. He's going to have all day to throw the ball, and if the pocket collapses, he's going to be able to escape, in my opinion, because he has the running ability. And it's just a matter of holding onto the ball too long. Will he be able to make the throw out of bounds or the check down pass that he kind of avoided this past season? So if he can fix those problems, I believe that he'll have a very consistent season with very few mistakes. And obviously that's going to be drilled into his head all offseason is these are the things you can fix. And that's going to be what he works on in scrimmages and practice in the preseason. And I really believe that he'll come in more well-rounded and definitely smarter. He's got the fundamentals. He's got the intangibles. Does he have the intellect? And I believe that now he does.
Well, let's certainly hope so. I was looking up his statistics from 2024. Passed for 2,696 yards, 213 completions out of 395 attempts for a completion percentage of 53.9, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So we certainly saw some good things, right?
Yeah, that completion percentage does have to go up a little bit, though.
Yeah, and I looked at every game that Rutgers played this year, and I saw one consistent pattern. It was that completion percentage. Against Howard, 62.5%. Against Akron, 60.9%. 64% against Virginia Tech, 58.3% against Washington, 40.5% against Nebraska, 37.5% against the Badgers of Wisconsin, 60% against UCLA, 57.4% against USC, 51.5% against Minnesota, 66.7% against Maryland, 50% against Illinois, 59.1% against Michigan State, and in the rate bowl, 43.8%. Ethan, start completing more passes. I mean, we need you at least over 60%.
The rate bowl is a little excusable just because we did put up 41 points, I believe. But that Wisconsin game, what the hell? I was not expecting to hear a number in the 30s for a team that is sort of on the decline.
I watched Alabama go into Camp Randall and destroy the hapless Badgers and Luke Fickell. And then after the Nebraska loss, I thought, we're coming back to Piscataway, and we are going to be on, and we're going to right this ship. Instead, 42-10, they look lifeless. What would happen there?
Yeah, I'm just maybe I mean, I'm assuming he lost confidence in his arm, and started throwing the ball out, which we do want him to do, but not when he has all day to throw the ball, and not when he has plays to throw a vertical. And when you're down 3 scores, down 4 scores, you have to force a throw. We're talking about being safe when it's a close game, when you're up 2 possessions, but when you're down like that, you have to take some risks. And so the issue is he was throwing the ball out too much in that game, sort of a reverse of what we preach when the game is close. But that's the issue. That game just wasn't close, and I have no understanding of why.
Yeah, I don't
mean,
either, but I will say this. I mean, when it comes to Cali Kamanis, he's got a lot of upsides to him. He's got a strong arm, and he has grit. We saw in that USC game, he threw some darts, and he scrambled very effectively at times. So he's got the heart, and he's got the talent. But sometimes he kind of reminds me of, a major league pitcher who can throw 100 miles an hour, but doesn't really hit the strike zone that often. I think where he needs to work on is his decision making, particularly when he's under pressure, needs to remain calm, go through those reads, and not throw costly interceptions. So at the end of the day, what's the verdict on Cali Kamanis?
To me, I believe he can be in the NFL. Like, this kid has all the potential to be great. To me, I see him as a Tua Tagovailoa type of player. I don't see why he can't go to the NFL. Absolutely. He has the same strength as Tagovailoa, especially in college when Tua was running more, and the same weaknesses that Tua had in college. Obviously, well, technically anything's possible, but I can assume that he's not going to have a Heisman type of season next year. Unless you want to prove me wrong, Ethan, that would be great. But to me, I mean, he has a very similar player build, very similar intangibles. When it comes to the NFL, whether it's full Tua Tagovailoa or some sort of Walmart version, I believe he can be sort of that kind of player. I mean, we've got to see what he does this season, because this is his make or break season, not just for his legacy in college, because he has numbers. And when you look back, in 15, 20 years, and you see that he's top 10 in everything, you'll say he was a great quarterback, especially for this program that hasn't had a great quarterback in a while. But the truth is, where we are right now, this is a make or break season, not just for his legacy, but for his chances at making this a career.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, he's got the talent. He has the skills. The question is, does he have the intangibles? Is he going to be able to go through his progressions, not panic in the pocket, and really maintain a more consistent completion percentage? Ethan, this is your year. If you really shine this year, you may have a future in the NFL, and Gabe's probably right. Now, you no longer have the stain of Minnesota and PJ Fleck haunting you. It is time for a new beginning, and for Rutgers in 2025. Absolutely.
Hey, if you get up to 60% this year, I think you get drafted. That's all I'm going to say.
And you get 20 minutes on this show.
Absolutely.